Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast session. On today's show, we have a serial entrepreneur, an amazing company story, Matt Mead, CEO and founder of Drivonic. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Great to be here.
You know, before we go into the product, I love the story you told me that you have so much confidence in your Drivonic platform that you decided to go all in. Some people say, you know, we got to eat our own dog food. In this particular case, you bought a Open Point, a failed Nissan store in Northern California, and have done nothing but use your own platform and some Hispanic radio. And tell us the before and after. What can you tell our listeners today about the 1-year turnaround story for this Nissan store?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. It is a great story. I'm a guy that likes to, I'm data first. Everything's what does the data tell you? And so I consistently, across serving thousands of dealerships, one of the things that we would hear when we would have attrition is dealers say, I don't know, I just didn't feel it. And so we would say, okay, well, quantifiable attribution has nothing to do with feeling. It has to do with what the data tells us. And data doesn't lie, people lie. And people lie to themselves more than they lie to anybody else. So let's trust the data rather than how we feel about it. But, there would still be there would still be attrition, and we would still have folks that, moved on from our products. And I never really understood it. And so I wanted to kind of prove it to myself as much as anybody else. And I decided to build a laboratory. I wanted a place where not only could I test new products and concepts around our data and marketing automation platform, but I also wanted to make sure that I was not just drinking my own Kool-Aid. I'm a guy
Smart.
who likes to test things.
Yes.
And so I went in and from one of our clients, a large automotive group, they had shut down a location that they could not make work. And we were able to go in and secure that. When we got it, it was literally abandoned. It had been sitting empty for a year, and it had homeless people living in the shop. So literally the day I took possession and got the keys, we had to.
You had tenants.
I had tenants I didn't know about. And so we took that, we got it open February of last year, and we took it from closed and abandoned with homeless people living in the back, all the way through to 11 months later. We just finished as the number one Nissan store in Northern California. And we did all of that doing nothing but running the entire Drivonic suite of products for both variable ops and fixed ops.
Well, that's a great story for our listeners. If you aren't hooked and want to know more about this product, I mean, I don't know what you would expect, but, this is a great story. Let me put it in context. For years, I've been writing about products that deliver great value to dealers, exposing products that have been fraudulent or even just suspicious in their reporting or performance claims. And I've always loved running into new entrepreneurs, new product and platforms. Not only that would be good for dealers, that could be a nice addition to our suite of products at PCG Digital. And last year, we added Drivonic to our portfolio of digital solutions because, Matt, as you and I have talked, dealers all share some common problems. That would be new customer acquisition, working to diminish or decrease defection, and then to reactivate customers that haven't been active in the service drive or used to buy from us. What makes the Drivonic suite of solutions different? Now, we're going to get into the details of how
Sure.
it works, but at a high level, if we believe that all dealers need acquisition and defection protection and reactivation of people in their DMS, what is your, well, differentiator on how you have unprecedented results?
So the thing that really kind of sets it apart is the data, right? We have an identity graph that's over 307 million US consumers, with 170 million plus of those where we have VIN specific data associated. We've mapped that all into an identity graph that not only allows us to see historical buy patterns and trends, but we've mapped that into an identity graph that has a 15-year historical email archive, as well as a 15-year historical hash archive. Now, the hash is an encrypted version of the email, and that is what is used by marketing companies like yours to actually go in, as you know, to upload a custom audience segmentation. So rather than taking an approach of retargeting, which is a reactive approach when traffic has already come and your media has already worked, we take a pre-targeting, proactive approach to going out and building an audience of people that have the highest propensity to do business with the dealership, because they either drive the makes and models that dealership sells and services, or they have a high propensity to defect from another badge and come to the badge that dealership sells and services. And so by taking that approach and applying it to those pain points, those buckets, new customer acquisition, defection prevention, and missed opportunity reactivation, then we're able to use data science to deliver a more linear quantifiable attribution result that is what ultimately is needed in the space.
You know, Matt, we've done a number of different applications, and I'm going to give one that was really a blessing to a new client with a new point, right? They have no DMS. What do you do when you have a new point? And granted, you could use local video marketing to create some general awareness. But the fact that our client was presented with a lane driver solution where we went into Drivonic's data lake, put in the areas they wanted to target. We were able to identify how many people owned that make and was able then to target them via email and social media or even search, was a breakthrough for this client. And is that an example of, hey, you can't retarget if you're a new point, but we already have the data. Let's show you how to be proactive in getting those new customers.
No, absolutely. Such a great example too, because you have scenarios like that and where it's a new point and they need to get the word out, that they're open, even just from a now open capacity. Fantastic. But more importantly, if they're a new point and they're offering service to an OEM level brand, then the OEMs, I mean, I'll just share the experience I had here with my Nissan point. I received the data file I was told that there were 7,800 Nissans in operation in my direct, PMA, DMA area of influence. And that was fantastic. I received the data file, and actually after looking at it, they only knew who like 3,200 of them were. Fortunately, inside of our data set, we had, significant amount of the remainder. And between the two, I got a fairly good market penetration. So when you're going in, you can't always rely on the OEM to have accurate data, because they're going to have purchase level data. They're not going to know if that person has changed emails. They're not going to know if that person has moved out of the market necessarily, because we NCOA our entire 300 million plus database every 30 days. We also have one of the most accurate postal databases as it relates to people that are still living. So we run hygiene for different companies. We have mail companies all across the country that use us to power their buyback driven direct mail and things like that. And the reason they do is because of the accuracy of our postal database as it goes along with the digital side. And we took that and we coupled it with real-time intender-based data feeds that come in from a multitude of sources. And that allows us to not only go in and pull, as you suggested, and I'm sure you saw in the Drivonic portal, where we can actually pull and select those makes and we can see how many people there are, but then we can actually push that over and we can map and plot and search by service and see which ones were actually in the last 90, 120, 180 days looking for service for that specific model. And those little data science driven differentiators make the hugest difference when it comes to quantifiable ROI.
Matt, one of the other applications for the Drivonic platform, and again, let me picture what I've seen and what our team uses to our listeners. Imagine having a visual interface, a map of your primary market area and beyond, where you can select, hey, I want people who own a Nissan, let's just say it's Conquest, maybe Toyota and Kia, that are actively owning, and the records indicate that their current lease or finance is going to be up soon. I mean, visually seeing this on a map, being able to hover over those dots and see names is pretty amazing. And then deploying that in social media or Google search or
video or yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Video
so
search. Doesn't matter which of the 6 primary digital channels you want to target. Once you know the audience, you go talk to them across all the channels. It's not a singular product.
That's right. And one of the other applications, and dealers who are listening to today's podcast, some of them may have not been a new point, but they've only been open a few years. And they're looking at their lease portfolio, and they're seeing each year more people are going to be returning their leases. And of course, most dealers have some lease retention marketing going on. But what about dealers who want to pull that curve ahead and market to other people whose leases are coming up in their market and encouraging them to return the lease? So that trade-in early message, or that, hey, we're a better place, for ongoing service or your next vehicle. I mean, these are a lot of data-driven opportunities, but dealers have only had typically what's in their DMS or CRM.
That's right. Typically equity mining, type tools or internal DMS data mining tools are the only thing that's been available to them. And so with the ability to utilize commercially derived VIN-specific auto sets, and there's several companies, we're one of, a dozen companies in the space that have quality data sets. There's several other ones out there. So regardless of who they work with, taking a proactive mindset of let's go build an audience of everybody that has a propensity to do business with us because they drive the makes and models that we sell and service, whether that's a lease, whether that's a new vehicle sale, or whether that's service. Being proactive and realizing that also by using this data in a proactive way and building this audience, you also know it's a real live local human being inside of your PMA that helps you eliminate the amount of dollars being lost to non-human traffic, as an example.
So let's stop on that, because you just kind of slipped in that non-human traffic. You and I both know that there are a lot of non-human traffic. Some of it's good for security and vetting and testing, and others is to inflate advertising budgets. We know this at the recent Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit. We saw some reports from the phone tracking vendors on those mobile click to call. And it was amazing over the course of a year, Matt, there were thousands of phone calls triggered as a mobile click to call that when they hit the IVR, they press nothing. And, the majority of that is all non-human click traffic. I didn't realize how big of a problem it is. So in your estimation, if a dealer is spending money, let's just say $10,000 a month, and their agency isn't really laser focused, working with, for example, companies like White Ops to implement best practices for eliminating non-human traffic, how much of their budget could be chewed up by these non-human clicks or interactions?
Yeah. So, for the better part of the last 5 to 10 years, this has been an increasing problem. Over 50%, Google estimates that over 50% of all traffic on the internet is now non-human traffic, whether good or bad, whether it's, good web crawlers, a Symatec Barracuda firewall bot that's meant to protect networks of, governmental hospital buildings, educational institutions, whatever it might be, even our dealerships, right? So you have this massive hockey stick growth of erroneous non-human traffic that then whenever you take into consideration companies, we work with companies like White Ops, which is now called Human, and we work with companies like previously with Spider.io before it was bought, and Forensic before it was bought. And, the estimate by these companies that are far superior at this than I am, the estimate is 1 out of every $3, up to 33% of money spent on digital media is being siphoned away by non-human traffic. To put that in perspective, it fluctuates and has fluctuated over the last 3 to 4 years between $12 and $15 billion a year just in the United States alone, not globally. That's just US ad dollars being siphoned away by non-human traffic.
Wow. And Matt, what specifically is Drivonic doing? Because obviously you have these audiences and you believe these audiences are real people with real email addresses. You load them into Facebook and are presenting ads, to people in the social media world. How do we know that those clicks or engagements or those video plays are real humans? Is Facebook doing a better job in that closed community along with your first party data?
I think that for any marketing company that is utilizing any vendor partner, whether it's us or someone else, there's obviously, you and I both know there's a lot of great vendor partners in the auto space that are proactively attempting to combat this problem. The beauty of a data set like ours, when you say we believe they are, well, the beauty is there's a transaction. So all of our data is VIN-specific transactional data. So we know that it's a real live local human being, and we know that they still live in the market as of the time that we're running or building that audience because we NCOA and we can see if they've moved out. What good is targeting, Joe Smith in Chicago if Joe doesn't live in Chicago, he now lives in Las Vegas? And even worse is what it does to your analytics and your metrics, which I'm sure you pioneered building Vista Dash and some of the other things to help dealers see what out of market traffic was coming in and what it looked like and how to keep an eye on it. Those things are so pivotal and so important. So when we go through and we use a pre-targeting and pre-building of this audience, when we go upload it, Facebook says, hey, we only know who 70% of these people are. And we say, fantastic. Those are the 70 we want to talk to, the 70% we want to talk to, or the 60% or whatever the percentage is. Those are the ones we want to talk to because we know they're live local humans. So we want to serve our ads in front of them. And so you allocate a portion of your budget towards that, towards going through and targeting the people that you factually know are real live local human beings. And then you have to allocate a piece of your budget where you say, okay, great, use my real live local human beings that drive the makes and models that I sell and service and have a propensity towards doing business with me, and build me a lookalike of people that are behaving the same way from a shopping pattern. And Facebook algorithms and Google's algorithms and Microsoft's algorithms and Verizon's algorithms, like all of these algorithms do a fairly good job at that. But I would just encourage people to split their budget and not focus 100% on just trusting the algorithms. I would encourage them to split the budget towards a pre-targeting and then more of a lookalike or retargeting style capacity.
That's great advice. And, I wanted to pivot the conversation to practical applications for now, and then practical applications maybe towards the end of this year. We know that new car inventory is at an all-time low. In fact, I was talking to a dealer today who has 0 new cars on the lot. And this is a dealer that would normally have, 150 new vehicles, on the lot. So we're in unprecedented times. The different strategies that you have put together, obviously, we talked about an acquisition strategy. We talked about a defection protection. We talked about reactivation. Obviously, one of the cool things that dealers should know is that your ad campaigns primarily are about building trust with the brand. So I love the fact that you're not pushing out VIN-specific ads like everyone else. So this is not a duplicate of what a dealer may be doing, but really pushing out the customer reviews, that positive brand message. And I think this is why Drivonic complements what our agency is doing, because, hey, we're buying the dealer's name or brand and city for protection for sales and service. We're doing VIN specific, new and used cars, but the digital branding and awareness. Let's talk about reactivation. What can you do for a dealer who has lots of people in their CRM that never bought, and a lot of people that would be characterized as lapsed service? This applies to everyone listening to this podcast. So if we say, let's take off new car marketing right now, and maybe even used cars, hey, Brian, they're selling like hotcakes. What would be the strategy if a dealer said, Matt, I got $5,000 a month. I want to move the needle by reactivating my own first party data and to fill the service drive. What's the right match to the product strategies that Drivonic offers?
So I think it's a very good question, the way that you've posed it too, because you've touched on all the pain points, right? In my own dealership, in this laboratory that I've built here, it was one of the first things that proved out. I've, built this entire Drivonic company around the concept and the comprehension that most all dealerships face similar challenges. In variable ops, we all need new customer acquisition. We need a bigger slice of the pie. We need to grow our market share. The data shows that no matter what the brand does or we do, that I don't remember the exact percentage, but more than 30-40% of consumers will buy their next car from a different brand than they bought their last car. And when you start taking that into consideration, you have a variety of things. That means that you're going to have the opportunity to capture those from a new customer acquisition standpoint as they leave their previous, but then you're also going to have the opportunity to prevent defection and try and retain those and keep them from defecting from your badge and going somewhere else. So looking at it we tried to build a suite of products that answered pain points, but as you mentioned, work with channel partners and agencies in an inclusive, not intrusive manner. We don't want to replace the strategies that are already working. We were looking for what can we do in addition to that over the course of time will lead to what every dealer, myself included, wants, which is incremental lift. And so when you're looking at it from the acquisition bucket in today's market, what could they do? They could do exactly what we did. We're running into the same thing. We have inventory constraints. So we began focusing all of that outbound acquisition marketing on pre-order and save more. And we started selling from within our pipeline. That's worked very well for us. Starting a market builder campaign that we push out and we amplify the reputation. We go gather all the 5-star reviews from their current happy customers, and we go tell their competitors' customers what a great job they're doing for their friends, neighbors, and community members. And the message that we send through that is the reputation amplification message, but then we layer in a pre-order and save more type message that lets them know that if you come to us and talk to us now before the inventory is here, we'll do more for you. We're in an age and time where everybody's charging market premiums and prices are higher than they're used to paying. You can come get a better deal if you work with us in advance. And it's worked magically.
Matt, that is such a timely message. I just saw a billboard that my colleague and friend Paul Daly helped create for Earl Stewart Toyota, that, a huge highway billboard to say, we never charge over MSRP, in an environment where we know trucks and EV vehicles oftentimes now are getting, premium prices on top of MSRP. And it's great to hear it's working. One of the comments that you made is that, hey, we work in complementary ways with agencies. At first, I thought, oh, this is going to compete with what we normally do on our social media strategies or our Google ad strategies. And what we found out is that absolutely it's a different data set with a different approach, with a different message. And here's the key, with data that our competitors don't have, right? And absolutely. I think that if dealers understood that they would have a high percentage of car ownership data in their local markets with the ability to do one-on-one personalized, relevant messaging, meaning, hey, people who own a specific vehicle sending out a message, truck buyers, sedan buyers. This gives dealers a whole new set of tools. So it's not spraying and praying. It's really tactically looking at your market, seeing how many people are in certain buckets, and then allocating funds.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point earlier when you asked about all these missed opportunities, it amazes me. It amazed me for many years. When I built the CRM Reconnect product, it was specifically about this reactivation process. The average dealer gets, 800 to 1,000 lead opportunities that come through their CRM and their showroom on a monthly basis. And I believe that the NADA national average closing ratio is still 12 to 14%. And when you start doing the math, it's like, even if they were 20% and they were just exceeding and they were a really top performer, that's still 70 to 80% missed opportunities on a monthly basis. And you and I both know you have to have three things to get to a car sale. You've got to have brand specific narrowness. You've got to have dealership specific narrowness, and you've got to have model specific narrowness. Those three things, you get a car sell. At some point, everybody sitting in that CRM had at least one of three. So when you look at it from a standpoint of, these missed opportunities, and the problem is the data ages, right? It gets dirty. And we all know that the CRM is the trash pit of the dealership. We literally had one in our CRM that said guy in blue shirt and had a phone number. I didn't even get the guy's name, right? And
Matt, so, one of the things that you and I understand, but I don't think most dealers understand, is that because the way dealership website forms are set up and kind of, get today's price, get best price, and consumers are not seeing the price, they get pushed with a form that basically says, we'll give you that information later. It's not uncommon for people to use what I call their throwaway email address. And what I mean by that is maybe it's that old AOL or Yahoo. They use it to get that 15% coupon off Bed Bath & Beyond. And then they're not back there for days, weeks, or even months. The cool thing that you should know, all our listeners today, is that each person in the Drivonic data lake has multiple email addresses. And here's the key. You're trying to communicate them with the email that maybe is in a box that they don't look at often. That doesn't prevent Drivonic from reaching them with your message, because that can be mapped to their digital ID. That digital ID is matched up and then allowing our agency and people who are using Drivonic to present Facebook ads or Google ads or email to alternative email addresses. So that's one of the reasons why the reactivation of CRM data works so well. We're just looking for a link and then we'll get to them another way.
No, absolutely. The beauty of using our identity graph the way that we did, and 8 years ago, I realized that undeliverable does not mean untargetable. And so what we were able to do is we were able to begin archiving massive pools of data, email addresses that were non-deliverable, but we were able to continuously archive them and tie them back to the persistent ID of Joe Smith. So Joe Smith doesn't have one email in our database, he has 8. Now, why is that important? To your point, if you were to go to use Facebook as the example, but it applies to any platform, but if you were to go to Facebook and you were to upload the email address, Brian@Brian.com, because that's the email that Brian transacted with you to buy his vehicle or to service his vehicle or whatever it might have been. So you have this, or to drop a lead with you for that matter, and you have this email address that he used, and you want to go serve Facebook ads so that he can see the inventory and things of that nature. You want to go target him on Verizon, on OTT, on whatever medium it is. When you take that email address and you upload it, Facebook wants you to prove that you know this person. You get a one-to-one opportunity. But by taking that in the format of an encrypted hash or persistent ID or a mobile ad ID and uploading it into those networks, respectively, whatever the DSP or platform is, you upload it into those networks and you don't upload one, you upload 8 or 10 encrypted emails that you know for that one individual. Now, instead of a one-to-one opportunity to find Brian, you've got a many-to-one opportunity. And your match rates go from 12 to 22% to 40 to 70%.
Right.
And being able to find those people and serve ads to them across all their channels on all of their devices, it's game changing.
Well, and that's why I wanted to invite you onto the podcast, because we believe that the Drivonic platform is giving our customers a competitive edge. This product isn't a product that dealers can sign up for directly. Obviously, if you're interested in this amazing platform, you can reach out to me or Denise, our agency president at pcgdigital.com. But I also want to let large dealer groups know that have their own internal marketing team. If maybe you do all your marketing in-house, this would be an amazing platform for you to implement. And of course, that's an exciting, opportunity. And there's a number of agencies that listen to this podcast. If you're looking for a robust first-party data set to leverage with your clients, we're finding some tremendous results. Matt, if an agency or a large dealer group wanted to get a demo, what's the best website or phone number or email? What's the best way for them to get that scheduled?
They can just simply go to drivonic.com and they can reach out to Phil Ami, who is head of all of our, he's our chief revenue officer, and he's head of all of those relationships. We currently work with tier 1, tier 2 agencies as well, and large dealer groups directly. But primarily, we work with our tier 3 channel partner network, such as PCG, and obviously reach out to Denise or Brian, and they'll take great care of you as well.
Great. Well, Matt, thanks for sharing a new approach, a fresh approach to leveraging high quality data to improve marketing outcomes and to reduce waste due to non-human traffic. If this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, you should know that we have dozens of episodes with industry leaders, disruptors, and breakthrough products to better automotive retail. And as we are coming up to a very important time of the year where the NADA convention is taking place, those larger agencies at tier 1, tier 2, or larger dealer groups, you should know that Drivonic will also be setting up private appointments at NADA. And of course, PCG Digital will be at the show come visit us at our booth. We look forward to sharing our discoveries and innovations in digital retailing just as much as the team at Drivonic would out in Las Vegas. I want to thank everyone for their time, and we'll see you next time on another podcast session.